Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, a lesson from the Flyers' past for a look to the future. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Oh boy. I am ready to fly on another great one here this week. How about that? A lesson from the Flyers' past for a look to the future. Yeah. Based off of the two articles that Mr. Lance Green, the writer extraordinaire and host extraordinaire and man extraordinaire, goalie extraordinaire, guardian of the blue paint, the main man, pots and pans, Batman, if you will, has graced us with a couple of great articles this week, and we're going to get right into them. And the first one was released to the world just a few short days ago on FlyersNittyGritty.com. By the way, check out the new store at the FlyersNittyGritty.com. You got to check that out, boy. Yeah, man. A look back on a Flyers great, Darian Hatcher, and what he is up to now. And honestly, all I want to know is can we hire him to help coach us as well? I mean,
I wish.
This guy is what it means to be a Flyer.
Definitely is. I wrote this article just something different. With the off season pretty well set out now and training camp about to, kick back up. It's nice when I've done this before with Tommy Soderstrom piece I wrote, and we had him on the show and all that. It went over pretty well, so I decided to do this. And another one of my past Flyers favorites, Darian Hatcher. So
can't disagree with you on this one.
He, like you said, definitely a Flyer through and through. Wish he was here for many years rather than just a couple. But it was good while it lasted for sure.
It was, man. I remember when Hitchcock was coach, and then they brought him in, and I knew when they brought him in here, the whole reason why they brought him in here was because of the fact that he had been under the coaching of Hitchcock in Dallas, where they won the cup.
Yeah.
And he was captain down there, and it was only, yeah. So he had humble beginnings, but was able to capitalize on his opportunities as a young hockey player. I mean, he is 6'5". Like, seriously, that's like, what, Chara on skates?
Yeah, just short of. Yeah, he was the Chara on skates back then. American-born player, he grew up in Michigan and played through and really wasn't too big of a prospect until he got to the OHL and really came into his own offensively as well. Began to take notice. I think his draft year, he scored 63 points in 64 games. Not bad for a defenseman, especially when he had 163 penalty minutes that season as well. So,
well, when you're 6'5",
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, so definitely, he's a big guy, 6'5", coming out in a great draft class. That had a certain player. Jaromir Jagr, I think his name was, drafted just a couple spots above him.
We have no idea who that guy is.
Yes, another great Flyers player that I wish was a Flyer a lot longer. But
they should have paid him anyway.
They should have paid him. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, definitely. Hatcher was drafted by the Minnesota North Stars at the time, 8th overall back in 1990. And he had a great year. Great year, rookie season. Great couple years once they moved to Dallas. Was the captain of the team, and as everybody knows, that great and remembers that great Game 7 that went into triple overtime, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Brett Harrell, Mike Modano versus
Yeah,
Dominic
boy.
Hasek, and just some great hockey there
Oh,
for sure. But after his time with Dallas, he moved on to Detroit, went back to Detroit, and played with the Red Wings for a season or two, but didn't really have the greatest time there. Got injured and had the lockout and all that good happy stuff. And once they came back from the lockout, it was a salary cap error, and the Red Wings bought him out because they had to fit within the new means. And lo and behold, the Flyers and Ken Hitchcock, like you said, brought him into the Flyers organization back in 2005, and was a great player. Signed a 4-year, $14 million deal at the end of his career to play with us. And, although he was at the tail end of his career, he definitely epitomized what it was to be a Flyer. Everybody can remember that first season when Sidney Crosby broke onto the scene, and he was supposed to be the next one, or whatever you want to call him. And, Hatcher stood him up at the blue line and took out a couple of his teeth and just beat him up physically through the whole first season. It was great to watch. And, Flyers really haven't had that kind of brute force on the blue line with him and Smith and, everybody that they brought in, Ratchie at the time, and, Grossman after that. And definitely a great time period for some Flyers defensive core, just to, big, brutal guys of old. And, hopefully we see a little bit of that with Ristolainen now,
exactly. That is exactly kind of the tie-in here with the title of the show, A Lesson from the Flyers Past, being Darian Hatcher. I mean, 6'5", 230 pounds, and the type of game that he plays. And it's very similar to Ristolainen, and it's very similar to some of the other type of players that were brought in, and also similar to Sam Moran's type of game and, things like that, So that's one of the things that spawned or spurred or inspired the title. But, look, I knew that when he was brought in to the Flyers that he was on the back end, and the guy had terrible knees. He would play 2 or 3 games, and then he would sit for 2 or 3 games, and then he would play for 2 or 3 games, and then he would sit for 2 or 3 games. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they did that for his last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, they brought him in when they needed him, and he was more of a presence, like an on-ice coach at the time. And even after he in 2008, 2009, I think he had another knee injury, and even then is when he sparked his coaching. He came back. He couldn't play, but he came back to be a coach and help out on the bench that last season with the Flyers before he officially announced his retirement. But he had over 1,000 NHL games and 331 points and accumulated over 1,500 penalty minutes in his career. Not too bad. But after his time playing with the Flyers, he decided to come on board as a developmental coach and helped out a lot of young guys and mold some young defensemen and stuff that were in the system kind of before we really kicked it off with so many great draft picks and that developed or still developing in the system now. But a great career for him, just to end on a playing note. He got inducted to the United States Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He played in the Olympics. He was the first American board captain ever to win a championship, a Stanley Cup. So just a lot of groundbreaking stuff for Darian Hatcher over his career. And, he took what he learned with the Flyers over helping out, being a developmental coach, and decided to go out in 2015 and break away from the Flyers and go buy his own team, the Sarnia Sting.
Go figure.
Yeah, he went out and bought the OHL Sarnia Sting with former NHL David Legwan, which he also became their head coach and carried them through a couple division titles and some really, really good hockey years and helped develop quite a few players that are in the NHL today. So,
that was gonna be my next thing. He wasn't in Philadelphia that long. He was taking over for Primo's captaincy, or because Primo was so oft injured. And then what was really sad is that he was elected captain, and then he was then oft injured as well too there, and wasn't able to complete his contract with the Flyers. But I have to say this, there's a select few players that come in and out of the team that you remember. And Darian Hatcher was one of those players that you just remember. The same thing with like Jason Smith. And he was only captain for what, one season, two, maybe, right? But made a huge, because these are the type of guys that define what it means to be a Flyer. They do the right things. They get into the dirty areas. They play the game the right way. They have the right work ethic. You know what I mean? They're team guys. And that's the other thing that the Flyers seem to do. Do you notice how Eric Desjardins retired? He became a developmental coach.
Mm-hmm.
Darian Hatcher retired. He became a developmental coach. Who was the last one? Stewart retired. Right? Became a developmental coach. I mean, it's like a thing with the Flyers.
Well, it says something about the team's, system, especially with, before Ed Snyder passed, it said a lot for the organization. The players that play here want to stay here because the fans appreciate them. They are intelligent hockey fans. And generally the school systems and everything surrounding that, the players just want to keep their kids in and around the area and enjoy it. You see so many players sticking around and still playing, against, the Flyers Warriors or other, teams out with alumni. With Danny Briere still being around, John LeClaire now hanging around, as opposed to, some of the other teams around the league just, okay, hey, thanks for the paycheck, and, they're out the door.
Yeah. I mean, even guys like Bernie Perron is still around and still doing stuff in the community.
Bob the Hound Kelly. Yeah.
That's what, all these guys are still around doing stuff for the community still, I mean, look, that's how it was back for a lot of like the dynasty type teams for the NFL. You look at the Steelers teams from back in the day, and all them guys, man, they all grew up in Pittsburgh, their families, and they all stayed. And they all became coaches, or they all did, they all stuck around and stuff like that, and had businesses they started in Pittsburgh, and, the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, it does say a lot. Yeah, it does say a lot for the organization when the players want to stick around, not just the city. They want to stick around with the team. They want to still be involved. They want to still have, I mean, look, I don't know about you, man, but I could never suit it up, for any professional team ever. There's just not 5'10", 186-pound centers in the NFL. There just isn't. Okay, so there was no way that dream was ever going to be a reality for me. You know what I'm saying? So I have to do it vicariously, and it's the same thing with hockey. Man, I'd love to be able to put on a set of skates and go out there and skate around and just start throwing my body around and hit people, because I would love to do that, man. I could just see myself being a defenseman. But he doesn't care about scoring. He doesn't even care about the puck. Like all he cares about is plastering you up against the boards. Yep. That's what I would be.
Well, that's what Hatcher was so good at. So
exactly.
Definitely, it leads a lot to the organizations, and it's just nice to see how the Flyers take care of their players. And it looks like for me, it looks like Cam with the new addition. Atkinson is going to be a good Flyer. He's going to be that seem to be the next Danny Briere type guy, a good wholesome guy, and just good for the organization and good for the locker room and everything. So really excited about that one.
Yeah, this is another reason why I wanted to address some of these things too with this particular show as well too, because there is a lot of things that the Flyers organization and management can learn from the past that they can apply to the future. Mm-hmm. And they don't even really need to look at the Flyers past, and they don't even really need to look that far back in the past. All they really have to do is look at the last two Stanley Cup winning teams and go, how do we get a guy like that? 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 Right? Because that's basically that's the model. That's what works. Right. And everybody has been, and this is what I love so much about Darian Hatcher, because he was one of those guys where he would come out and just set the tone. Like Chris Pronger, right? If Chris Pronger was back there skating around, no. Yeah. I miss that guy too, boy. He was another really good one.
Well, speaking of, what the Flyers have learned, it looks like they're making a shift towards that same mantra of player again, and want to develop their young core with hiring, Smith to come in and having guys like Ian LaPerriere that both played the game the right way to coach the youth of this organization. And, and that's nice. But what they need to learn more of, and which I think Chuck Fletcher has done this offseason, is maybe not go out and get the Hatchers, the Prongers, the Smiths in the glory years of their career with just a season or two left. Now he's going out and getting guys that are going to have a good 5 years or more left in their career. So that's
when they're younger.
That's what they needed to do. You want to get guys that can help, yes, but you want to get guys that'll be here for more than just 1 year. And the Flyers in years past have always gone out and tried to get those big name players, but they were only able to acquire them in those, final years of their career. So hopefully this is an upswing for us, and we're going to see more guys like Atkinson coming in and Ristolainen, he's what, 26 or something like that. He's still got, he may play another 10 seasons. Who knows if his body holds up. So that's great, and it's great to see that.
Yeah, and I think somebody's only like 29 or something like that. Or I think
he's going to be 30 next year. Yeah. So he could potentially play another 5 seasons, and still be, will he be the 40-goal scorer he once was? Who knows? We'll see who he plays with, and with a guy like Giroux setting him up or something, it may be really nice. But it's nice to see that we're making an effort and we're heading to the right direction now, and getting these younger stars in that can still have, be a help for many years to come.
We're going to get into this a little bit later on in the show, but because I want to because I really like this article here about Darian Hatcher. And I was really impressed with the hiring of Jason Smith for the Phantoms. Okay. And that's why I thought this article was so timely, Lance, because you always just seem to know how to capture the spirit of the moment even though this is a, retrospective type of an article, it still captures exactly what the Flyers need to embrace and need to embody right now. Okay.
Well, that's why I wrote it.
See?
With the hiring of Smith, it got me thinking. He's really got that job, but he really hasn't had the background in coaching as much as Hatcher has. And I've been calling for his hiring for something like that position for some time, and he owns his own team, so who knows if he would come if given the chance, or who knows if he was even offered previously and turned it down. But it is a guy that knows the game, and like Smith, was a great captain and player out on the ice, and played the game the right way. And I really thought it was going to be him in that hiring position, because he's
Smith.
rather than Smith. But I really like both players, and kudos to both of them for doing what they're doing. Hatcher just actually stepped down at the end of last season as their head coach, which made me, as the Sarnia Stings head coach, he's still the owner of the team, but he's going to let somebody else coach it. And that kind of, raised my eyebrows to say, hey, maybe coming in. Yeah, but Smith's going to be great, and we'll see. We'll see what plays out.
I can see why that would have raised the hairs on the back of your neck, because Hatcher at least has some coaching experience, more so than what Smith does. You know what I mean? I'm not, look, you can look at a guy and tell if he's going to be a good coach by the things that he says, how he carries himself, how he plays the game, how he prepares for the game. Like if you looked at Rod Brindamore and you watched him throughout his entire career, you could tell he was going to be a coach.
Oh yeah, I mean, on the bench, when he was still playing, he was coaching on the bench and grabbing guys and talking over what happened and everything. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's like that across the board with any sport. It's like, it doesn't matter. You just can tell there's guys that could do that. Right. Like, I really feel that Peyton Manning would make a great coach.
I do too.
Right. But I don't know if he wants to go down that road. You know what I'm saying?
Offensive coordinator, that'd be a great spot for him. But
are you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, Omaha. Now that's a Hall of Famer now too. So, but that's why I like the timing of this article. That's why I like the subject of this article, because it very much ties into what the Flyers need to do right now. It very much ties into players that need to play the full 200-foot game. If you are listed as a defenseman, your first job is to be a defenseman first, right? So the culture has changed with the players that have been brought in, and the
ones that have been shipped out.
And okay, you're taking the words out of my mouth, buddy. And we're getting ahead of ourselves, I think, a little bit too, because we want to get into this with I think with some of the next article, based off of what is coming up here. You know what I mean? So there's some of those kinds of things I want to talk about a little bit later. But with what you pointed out exactly with Jason Smith hiring, now being able to teach the guys at the Phantoms, this is how you be a professional. This is how you coach, or this is how you play. You know what I mean? And teaching guys, we're getting Zumala and York being coached by these two guys. Does that make the hairs stand up on the back of your neck or anything? Does it? Anything?
It's a good thing for sure. To get these guys into the minds of these young players and really setting the groundwork and the foundation to be good pros. And I mean, not only those two, but I think a underrated guy like Wyatt Wiley is phenomenal talent. And Mason Millman. The list goes on with these great defenders that we have in the system. Um, yeah, it's going to look good, and I'm not going to touch on that too much because I'm trying to work on a piece now about just the Phantoms and the possibilities next season of the roster and line combinations and all that good happy stuff. So.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that's shaping up to be quite a nice looking team. No, I mean, they did, all things considered, last year the Phantoms did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
All things considered.
I think a lot of people, even with Wisdom going down, that broke my heart. I love that. I love that young player. He's a bulldog out on that ice, and he's a flyer through and through. But even without him, now that he's recovering from surgery, this roster is gonna bring people's butts to the stand up in Lehigh Valley. So
let's hope so. Let's really hope so.
I'm definitely gonna try to shoot up there for a couple of games and cover a couple of those games as well. So.
There you go. All right. Well, then you have a standing invitation to come up here because I'm stone's throw distance from where the Bears den here in Hershey.
Gotcha.
So I mean, and it's not that far away. So Lance, I really think this was a great article, and I really think it would be. I wouldn't have minded the Flyers hiring Hatcher at all to be the assistant coach down there for the Phantoms. Just like I have no problems with Jason Smith. Okay, we both felt that this was kind of a demotion for LaPerriere. But I'm hoping that even though it may seem like a demotion, I'm hoping this can be something that he can build off of and make it a positive and make it not be a demotion and make it be something that, he can help the team moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. And it wasn't as clear a path or outline seeing such great coaches leave out from the organization, but with Chuck Fletcher's decision to put him as the head coach down there, and then Smith coming in, and the offseason and the type of players that he was able to bring back, I think Chuck is painting a picture of what he wants this organization to move in that direction. And those two players together, I think, will make some great coaches at the Lehigh Valley, Phantoms organization. And I'm excited to see just them develop this young group of players. And I think that's why you see Chuck now signing a lot of his newly drafted players to potentially turn pro and be with this Phantoms organization rather than having them go elsewhere and, be big fish on a small pond. Let's get them in here earlier and get them direction through some great players and teach them up right and get them here that much quicker in black and orange.
I've always been a fan of how hockey brings players in. When they draft a player, that player goes back to their junior team and then their college team or whatever, whatever other thing they got going, like just because you draft a player, he's 3 years away, maybe potentially, and that's just because he's going to either continue to go to school or continue to finish out his juniors or, and most of the time that's school. You see what I'm saying? So the way that they actually develop the hockey players, to me, in my mind, is a much better approach, because now you get a guy that they draft you. You get to go do your junior thing, right? Now you get to come into a camp. Now you're surrounded by people that can help to put you on a good path. Do you see what I'm saying? And you're exactly right, man. I think bringing them in earlier and bringing them into the Phantom system sooner rather than later. Okay. I
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
yeah, sure. The Flyers do a good job with like we were saying before, with so many player development coaches who go out and look up and watch these young players elsewhere in juniors and everywhere else around the
Yeah.
world, and really try to give them tidbits of information and help along the way. But it's a lot easier to do so in your own backyard. And and that's what I think Chuck's trying to do here. He's trying to get these players in and get them going. So I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. I am too. I am too. And with that, folks, we are going to take a quick little break here. We're going to have a quick little word from our sponsor. That's right, folks, Canine Country Club Resorts. You can check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com or check them out on Facebook. Just remember, they've got 2 locations and an indoor and an outdoor pool, professional groomers, daycare, and spa treatments for your pets. Check them out, folks. We'll be right back right after this. Greetings. This is SteelFlyers from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we have 2 very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of 2 locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. SteelFlyers stands behind this company 100%. Taken care of SteelFlyers furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God. Welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, along with your host, Lance Green. How you doing, bud?
I'm all right.
Yeah, man, we're ready to get back into it, aren't we?
I'm ready.
That's right. Okay, so article number 2, and this is what inspired me to not only the first article that we talked about, but this article here inspired the second part of the title of the show. FlyersNittyGritty.com just recently posted your latest, a Flyers camp invite that will have everyone present stand up and take notice. I really have to admit that I have not heard of many of the invites for camp this year. Okay, so please help me to get to know one of them, please, sir.
Yes. So one of my favorites when this list came out, I was over the top enthused about, was a rather large gentleman, a Mr. Jackson Vandalist. Okay. And the same token, he hailed from the Calgary Hitmen of the Western Hockey League. That you remember a few players, Flyers defensemen, who have come through there. All right, and just
a few,
good,
laddie.
yes, just a few. So, but the big thing about this guy to remember is his size. He is 6'7", 238 pounds. All right. He is a defenseman that plays the left side, which we got a lot of, but this guy fits a lot of, or checks off a lot of, that was creepy. Checks off a lot of the boxes the Flyers need him to. He's an absolute beast. Finishes all his checks, clears the front of the porch, so the goalie can see. Yes. Has an amazing wingspan that if you come anywhere near him, he is going to wrap you right up and take you completely out of the play.
Swallow you away.
Yes. And he is a player that originally, in 2 articles I talked about him previously in 2020. Back on October 6th and again on August 3rd, when I did my mock drafts for that year, I had the Flyers hopefully selecting him in the 7th round.
That didn't happen.
And it didn't happen. I guess Chuck didn't really get a chance to read that article at the time, but he has since caught up because he's putting this guy in the camp for sure. So I'm excited to see this guy play. I think before last season, he might have been invited to the Calgary Flames camp, but obviously he didn't really make the team from there. But he just plays the game like we were saying with Hatcher and Pronger and Smith. He plays the game the right way. He's a defenseman first, all right? He's going to protect his own. He's going to protect the crease. He's not going to let guys get in behind him. He is going to stand up for a player or a teammate if they need it. If somebody takes a dirty hit on him and he's on the ice, they better watch out because he's going to come after him. And it's not a pretty picture when he does.
That would be like, I mean, when you have a guy who's that huge, I mean, we're talking about Chara. This is Chara region here. I mean,
Yeah.
he's what, 7'1" with skates, and he has the longest stick in the league. This guy here is going to have the same size stick.
Yeah.
So that means that he can already reach 2 feet further than you.
Yeah.
That tends to give guys advantages.
That's a nice little poke check there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice little poke check when you're already 2 feet ahead of everybody. Look.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure. I didn't really hear much about the guys in camp, and then was able to do a little digging and found some great stuff on Mr. DeLeast, especially with some of the stuff you wrote in your article. Really kind of brought some things to light, and I have to admit, I really like what this player brings to the table. I mean, he can drop the gloves, right? He knows how to do that. Okay, that to me is very important. Okay, we've talked about this ad nauseum. We're not looking for knuckle draggers. We're not looking for goons, but you still need a guy who knows how to drop the gloves and take care of business when it needs to happen.
Yep.
Okay. And that's always a good plus. You know what I mean? And I guess that the issue will be, though, can he make the team out of camp?
I don't think he makes the Flyers at all. I don't think he makes the Flyers for sure. They went out and they secured a bunch of different NHL players to strengthen their defensive core. I think that they have, Cam York and Zumala, who are above this player right now. But Jackson did play with the Hitmen at the same time Zumala did. So that's pretty much where they know this kid from and have seen him, because obviously they're watching their own prospects and seeing how they develop. But anybody who's watched a Hitman game in the past 4 or 5 seasons when Jackson DeLeast been there, you notice him. And Sanheim was there before that as well. So it's a team they've been scouting for some time. But with that being said, he jumps off the page to you. And, I do think he could possibly be a Phantom. He could be signed to a 2-way deal and be offered a contract. There's a couple of guys that they brought in to kind of be a AHL journeyman kind of guys to help out the youth of the defensive core. But he could be just another one in the mix there. I really like this kid, and like you said before, I don't think the Metro Division's getting any easier to play in, guys. If you look at it, a certain individual just got brought over to the Rangers by a named Ryan Reeves, one of the most feared men in the NHL. And on top of that, Tom Wilson's still in D.C., and you have Matt Martin and Ross Johnson patrolling the aisle up in New York. So it's a pretty tough division, and the Flyers need to get a little more physical than they have. And they have this offseason with Restalainen, but he can't play 60 minutes a night. So They're going to have to look to the future here and get some more physical players. And, Sam Moran is another one that comes to mind. I hope and pray that, their coach, AV, can get him on the ice a little more frequently. I know it's going to be tough with the guys he brought in, the veteran players he brought in, but, I do think that he needs to be out on the ice, or you do need to get somebody else and sign and secure him that can play that role as well. So
I think with Moran, I'm really looking for him to actually make this team out of the camp with Moran. Okay, because I think with getting a good off season in training, okay,
a healthy one,
a healthy one for the first time in what, 4 years, right? This kid's going to get a shot at a healthy offseason, right? He'll be able to put on some weight, some bulk up, right? Because he looks like he could. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just looks like he has that frame that he could probably stand and put on, 10 or 15 pounds and carry it well. Yeah. Okay. I also agree. I think more ice time for him would be beneficial, not just for Sam, but also for the team. I've always appreciated what Sam has brought to the team, and I really like what Chuck has been doing. Look, I've eaten a lot of crow this off season. Okay, because I was ultra critical of Chuck Fletcher and the excuses and the non-committal whatever they did last year, right? I don't know what you want to call that, but whatever they did last year just doesn't pass mustard as far as I'm slicing bread. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, I said I'm not as I wasn't as worried with Chuck as I was AV, even because Chuck has brought in people that AV could have utilized a little bit better to play that role with some physicality and some toughness, and he didn't use them. I think this offseason, Chuck has sat on his hands previous ones, but he also was new to the team, and new roster, new prospects to see what was coming up the pike and all that. And I think that his handcuffs were taken off this offseason after not making the the playoff push there and everything. I think that his handcuffs were off, and he was allowed to do a little more freely what he wanted to do, as opposed to them just kind of saying, hey, we got a good thing here, let's see what we can do. So you never know what lies behind closed doors and what limitations he's actually given.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, he's also gotten a lot more wiggle room.
Yeah,
as far as the cap this year with the moving of some of the contracts that were being able to be moved, you know what I mean? So he was able to garner some more cap space that gave him a lot more flexibility to make the deals that he was able to do. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I think he's changed the culture of this team. I think he got rid of the players. Okay, look. To me, it's not personal. It's a business. Okay. And every single owner and general manager looks at their players. Yes, they're human beings, but they are also assets. And when an asset gets rusty or worn out, you replace it with something new that's younger, better, faster, stronger. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Okay. And unfortunately, that's how it is in sports. Okay. There's always somebody out there better, faster, stronger that can do it. You know what I mean? So, time for things to move on.
Yeah, I think it definitely was this offseason for the Flyers, and a lot of Flyers fans love their players and remember a lot what they did in the past and hold on to it and are thankful for it. But at some point, it is a business, and it is about what have you done for me lately? And, that's why you may see Nolan Patrick and, Voracek move out. And it was just stale. The ride with Voracek had been going on for some time, and he's basically a Giroux 2.0 as far as their playing style. And Giroux just plays that a little bit better. And we needed to get a goal scorer, and Cam Atkinson, being a former 40 goal scorer, was just that, and comes with a heck of a lot better attitude, and just a pleasure to be around, and definitely that change of culture, and bringing that light to the locker room, and a happy happy-go-lucky feeling and a loose feeling for players that don't have to watch their P's and Q's around certain players and can just go out there and have fun once again. And I think that's what the Flyers weren't doing. I didn't see them having fun playing the game.
They said they were, but they weren't. You know what I mean? Look, this is all that we care about right here, buddy. That's all we care about, right? Okay.
In a nutshell.
Doesn't mean anything about anything else. So you put the best players out there on the ice, the best team out there on the ice to get those W's. Because when you get the W's, what comes with that? Championships. Right? That's what this all is about, right? And that's what everybody talks about. Yeah, we want to win the cup. We want to win the cup. Yeah, okay, great. But are you trying to win the cup?
Yeah. You look at the teams that have in the past years, and a lot of Flyers fans were on Chuck about giving up a first round pick this year and everything else.
Okay.
And I'm okay with it. It means that he was making moves necessary to change the team and get it better real quick. And if you look at the teams that have done that for years, the Penguins, the Lightning, it's worked out for them in the past. I mean, and sometimes it burns you, but that's the chance you have to take. It's a chance you have to take to be a contender. And what good is making a couple of moves and maybe making the playoffs again just to get bounced out in the first round? I want more. I want more as a fan. I want more as, if I was a player on the Flyers. I want to see the general manager believe in the team enough to go out and spend the assets, like you were talking about, to go out and acquire the other ones that are needed to be a true cup contender.
To get these.
Yes.
Bring in the players to get the W's, right? Look, that's the best part, I think, about what's going on here. These players were brought in here to do exactly that. Okay. And so I don't have a problem with giving up a first round draft pick for a known commodity who is relatively on the same level. I'll give you a perfect example. Now, look, the jury's out still on him until we get, I'd say halfway through the season. And the jury will be out on Ristolainen until we get halfway through the season, if we're going to know if that sacrifice of that draft pick is going to be worth it, right? But look, all I'm going to do is tell you, every once in a while it works out. All you have to do is look at Minka Fitzpatrick. He was traded away from the Miami Dolphins. He was a 11th overall selected and number 1 in the draft. Pittsburgh Steelers gave up a number 1 draft pick to trade for him, right? That is trading a number 1 draft pick for a known commodity. It has been done numerous times for many teams on all the sports across the board. Okay. I don't have a problem with Chuck trading a 13 overall draft pick for a player who was selected 8th overall in the first round. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. And okay, I know this is going to sound really horrible, but if it doesn't work out and we stink, we're going to get a pretty good draft pick next year anyway. So what? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it is what it is. And, these moves this offseason have shown that he wants to turn the team around, and bringing in players even like James Vandalist is a move in the right direction. If you look at the Lightning, if you look at the Capitals, if you look at the St. Louis Blues before them, they're teams that in the playoffs were very, very physical. They completed all their checks. They stood up for each other. They cleared the front of the porch. And so many fans nowadays have gone by the NHL's newer, friendlier ice hockey, game that is figure skating in my mind, figure skating with a stick. And, it's
wow.
it's not what wins championships. And I think the Flyers did that for quite a few years and tried that out, and their production suffered for it. And now it looks to be, the pendulum swinging back the other way, and them realizing that they do need to get a little bit more physical and toughness and grit back into this locker room, that quite frankly, this whole organization was built on. We used to be a team that was other teams feared and had circled, as out for a sick day or something on that night.
Yeah. Well, we're playing Philly. Oh,
yeah. I'm a bit banged up tonight. Yeah, I can't
I'm
go.
not feeling so good tonight, Coach. Look. That is what I want to get back to, because there are so many teams. Like right now, you go down to Tampa Bay, you go into that building, that's going to be tough. You go to Colorado, you go into that building, that's going to be tough. You go down to Carolina and go into that building, it's going to be tough. You go to Pittsburgh, it's going to be tough in that building. I mean, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So I really am excited for this team. I know that, we all say, yeah, we're excited for this team, and yeah, we're excited for this team, but I want to see how this all shakes down this year. Okay. I'm going to wait till half of the season's over before I pass judgment on Ristolainen, on see how that goes. You know what I mean? And see, because he's kind of got to prove it to me. I mean, his Corsi numbers are wretched, but he played in Buffalo.
Well, I think Buffalo played him above his means too. He was drafted very young. He was rushed in very young and made to try to be a number one defenseman, and he's not that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The Flyers are going to play him as a number 3 or number 4 defenseman, and I think that's more suited where he belongs. And I think he'll do well in Philly, and I think the fans of Philadelphia will love him for his style of play for sure.
That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to end up happening. You know what I mean? When you get out of a situation where all you do is lose, and you start getting into a team that wins, that knows how. I mean, look, we have said this on numerous occasions that this team is not that far away, as we've been able to see over this past offseason, where 3 players can be brought in that can check off the boxes, and now suddenly this team is a completely different team now. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to see if Martin Jones is going to be the guy that can come in and win 80% of those 30 games that he's going to have to play.
Yeah.
Okay? If that can happen, great. If these new players that come in, Atkins and Ristolainen and, Ellis, I'm really excited about this Ellis trade as well. I really feel that's going to be a great pairing with Provorov. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of that this year as well. You know what I mean? And I think that this Jackson Vanderleest is going to be one of those guys that will sign down there for the AHL. I think he will be offered a contract to play for the Phantoms, and he could potentially be one of those guys that gets called up for an emergency, or if somebody gets hurt, or, I mean, you never know. You know what I mean? And it's never a bad thing to have a 6'7" physical presence, as a guy you can bring in.
Yeah. I'll give you one name who's going to have a big year, I believe, this year, and that is James Van Riemsdyk. If you've been watching this summer, currently right now in what they call a debut league, where
yeah.
some players get together just to stay in shape and get revamped for the season. He's playing in that right now, and I mean, he's killing it in this and it's just a bunch of NHL guys, different, pro athletes, hockey players that get together and really play in these leagues, little ramp up leagues, to get them ready for training camp. And he's absolutely killing it, guys. I think he's now bought into this system where he wasn't before. Last season, he really came into his own a little bit, and I really like his chances of having some good numbers for this season. Who knows if he's going to play on the third line or the second line? We shall see. But you know how AV does it, moving people around and different stuff all through the year. I really think he's going to have a big year for sure.
Here's what I want to see what AV is going to do now that he's been afforded players that play his type of system. He's been afforded players that are 200-foot responsible. He's been afforded players that play defense first. Is he going to let them be physical and take the gloves off and let these guys do things? Because we brought Nate Thompson for what, a second go round? You know, this guy was brought in 2 years ago to be that player that was going to patrol the lines for us and make sure that guys weren't taking pot shots at Giroux and Couturier, and all he did was skate away from that stuff.
Yeah.
And we bring him back.
Yeah, I don't know. That I wasn't too impressed with that. I think my other article I'm really working on kind of points out a different player or two that are still out there on the free agent market that I would have rather seen brought in instead of him, but among other positions. But I don't know necessarily that the PK was so bad. I think that's why Nate was brought back in to help with that. But as far as AV, I think Chuck kind of may have said, hey, especially with the case of Sam Moran, who he had playing wing and all this other stuff. Oh, that was a cool idea to try to get him in the lineup a little bit more, but he's a defenseman. Let's face it, he's a defenseman. And towards the end of the season, you saw that, and you know, Chuck kind of said, no, he will play defense, and you know, he will be inserted in the lineup a little bit more. And that was the start of this offseason big push, you know, of getting bigger, stronger, faster, more physical players. So, you know, hopefully AV's kind of been let it be known and told, like, hey, you know, this is what we want to see. And, you know, he's not going to really have a choice. You give up a first-round pick for a big physical defenseman this year. He's going to be in the lineup. You're not going to sit him out of the lineup. So we shall see. We shall see.
I'm very intrigued by this. These are the building storylines for this year for me, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so speaking of building storylines, you've mentioned that you've got a couple of articles that are in the works, and we are in anticipation of more great and wonderful ink that comes out from you, sir. So we'll be looking forward to that. We would like to do the Hockey Writers Inc. salute. 39 weeks in a row on Bleacher Reports, man. Boom. Every time we do a show, man, it goes out. Big thanks and big props to Flyers Nitty Gritty and the crew over there and Jamie Baskow for helping the support on that. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. Thank you. What do you think, Lance? Got another good one?
I think so. It's, you know, it's leading up to a lot of good things with camp here and a normal season again, or hopefully close to it. There's been some talks with, Winnipeg and other clubs out there trying to push for a all vaccinated arena, and I just don't know how they're going to profit off of that, but we shall see. I'm not trying to get in anybody's politics or anybody else way of thinking about vax or no vax, but
All
I
right.
just want hockey. I just want
Yeah,
hockey,
I
guys.
just want
want to be
hockey.
normal. Yeah.
All right. One last question here before we sign off. What is your opinion about the election of the NFL or the NHL Board of Governors allowing for advertising on the jerseys?
Well, I think it's good. Maybe, Sidney Crosby will have, some Tampax or something like that on his jersey. So there's plenty of opportunities for sure. Um, I think it's another way to bring in revenue for the league. They're trying to get up there with, basketball and everything else. So,
Oh man, I
there's
saw that today too. I saw
yeah,
that today
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like,
So
all right.
we got a lot of things coming here. As far as that, I'm fine with it. Let's put bumper stickers on everything if that means that our players can get paid as much as others. I think the NHL is very
All right.
underpaid compared to
All
others.
right. All
If you
right.
look at the SHL and other leagues around the world, they do it. Russia does. Everybody does it. So why not? If the organizations themselves are willing to have more than just their logo on it, I don't care as long as I can still see hockey.
All right. Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, you're basically just going for I just want to see the game. But I'm going for this. If you want to do something like that, do like what they did last year and put them on the helmets or put them on the pants. Okay? I don't want to buy a Flyers jersey that's got a Wawa symbol on it. Right? Look, this is not NASCAR. Okay? I don't want to talk about the blah, 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 listing out all the names of the sponsors, Philadelphia Flyers. No, I don't want to do that. I want to get a jersey and put it on and just be the jersey and have the C on there and my name on the back and my number, and that's it. And I think that is ruining the jerseys, ruining the sweaters. It's, to me, it's one thing when you're playing in juniors. It's one thing when you're playing in the worlds and all that other stuff, because that's just how that is, and I get it. Okay? If you want to put them on the helmets, I'm okay with that. You want to put them on the pants, cool. Gloves, great. Put them all down your stick, on your skates. You can put them on your socks. I don't care. You can put it on your visor. I don't care. Right? But don't put it on the jersey. Okay? Don't put it on the jersey. To me, that ruins the jersey. That makes me not want to buy a jersey from that team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just the revenue standpoint.
It's undenied.
You pay money for dasher boards and everything else now, but and the logos on the ice, but it's just another way to bring in revenue, and the NHL is surely lacking without this last good TV contract that they just signed. They were hurting for sure, and
yeah, I agree.
especially with all this COVID stuff and everything else. It's just another way to make sure that teams aren't going to go under. Not everybody's as well off as the Flyers or some of these other big name teams. Some of these other small market teams like Arizona and stuff are struggling. And it could mean, that big old check from Coca-Cola, whoever wants to, Pepsi, whoever wants to do it is going to hold them afloat. Yeah.
I get it. I'm not trying to say no. What I'd really like to see is them do that to the AHL teams. Like, get the sponsorships for the AHL teams, because they get nothing. They have no TV contract deals, and all they get is whatever sponsorship that team can garner, and that's it. Okay, and whatever revenue they can get from the gate. Okay, so give it to them. Let them plaster that jersey full of freaking Wawas and stickers and, Kodaks and Coca-Colas and whatever. I don't care. Do that to the AHL team and have at it. Right?
Maybe they'll get a ability to fly on a plane instead of ride on a bus.
Well, yay! Hey, sponsored by a plane company instead of,
Yeah.
like I said, do that to the AHL teams. I don't care if you put it on the helmets. I don't care if you put it on the pants, the sticks, the gloves. Just don't put it on the jerseys, as far as I'm concerned. Just my opinion. Thank you very much. All right, I'm off my box.
All right. So anyway, speaking of jerseys, look out this training camp if you guys are lucky enough to go up there for number 81. That will be, Jackson Vandalist out there, and he wouldn't be hard to identify. He's going to be the one, the head and shoulders over top everybody else. So,
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait to check that out. Can't wait to get into camp here too soon. That's going to be coming up here in about a month or so. So can't wait to get into that. Lance, thanks a lot, man. How can we get a hold of you? Where can we find you and get all your great stuff, brother?
Sure, man. As always, my stuff's always on flyersnittygritty.com, steelflyers.com. You can also catch it on Bleacher Report via the Flyers link there. You can follow me on Twitter at LNGBASSIST. The number's 39.
There you go. You can check me out online too at Twitter. That's SteelFlyers52. That's at SteelFlyers52. You can also check us out on the web at www.steelflyers.com. Check us out, man. For sure. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show of the Hockey Writers Inc. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.